Have you ever imagined what it would be like to witness the emergence of a new ocean before our very eyes? Well, you should know that this is not just the result of a science fiction script or internet conspiracy theories. Recent studies confirm that, yes, Africa is literally splitting in two, and, with this division, a brand new ocean could emerge in the future. But don't worry, we won't spoil the surprise by giving away all the details now. Throughout this video, you will find out how it all began, why this process is happening, and what it means for the countries of the African continent. Get ready, because the story is full of scientific twists, geological curiosities, and surprising implications for millions of people who live in that region of the globe. Stay until the end to understand the full scope of this impressive phenomenon and how it could impact the lives of many populations around the world. To begin this fascinating journey, we need to understand what tectonic plates are and why they move so much. Imagine the Earth's crust as a large jigsaw puzzle floating on the mantle, the hot and partially molten layer just below. These plates, giant blocks of rock, fit together more or less like pieces, but they never remain still. They move, collide, move apart, and slide over each other slowly. This geological dance has been going on for billions of years and is responsible for the formation of mountains, valleys, earthquakes, and volcanoes. When we talk about the African continent, we are referring to several different tectonic plates, including the African plate and the Arabian plate, which, although they share a nearby region, have been silently breaking apart, or not so silently, if we count the seismic tremors, for a long time. The most incredible thing, however, is that geologists have now confirmed something that until now seemed like a distant hypothesis. The African continent is literally cracking in half, opening a gigantic crack that could, in a few million years, give rise to an entirely new ocean. Countries like Uganda and Zambia, which are currently landlocked and have no direct access to the sea, may have beaches and coastlines in the future. That sounds surreal, right? But it's not something that happens overnight. These continental rifting processes occur at geological rates, which means we're talking about immense timescales, millions and millions of years. In other words, don't expect to see a brand new ocean appearing in just a few generations. Still, the simple fact that this phenomenon is already underway is breathtaking. According to the specialized magazine Geophysical Research Letters, this process was detected through studies that used seismic data, GPS measurements, and subsurface analyses. The measurements made it possible to pinpoint the exact point where the African continent began to open up, something like the ground zero of this gigantic division. The current crack runs for about 56 kilometers and appeared most notably in 2005, in the deserts of Ethiopia. In fact, if you look at Google Earth or satellite images, you can even see traces of this colossal rift. It's fascinating to imagine that there, right in the heart of one of the oldest and most culturally rich continents, something so new and powerful is happening, forever transforming the geography of the place. Scientists explain that all this rupture is occurring at the edges of three tectonic plates that have been gradually moving apart: the African plate, the Arabian plate, and a portion known as the Somali plate, which separated from the main African block tens of millions of years ago. For those who think that nature is static, this phenomenon is proof that the Earth is alive and constantly changing. It is as if we were witnessing a gigantic geological spectacle, even more impressive when we realize that these plates have already given rise to formations such as the Red Sea. Yes, that stretch of water between Africa and the Middle East also emerged from tectonic separation processes. However, everything occurs at a slow pace. We are talking about a few centimeters per year, but still enough to slowly shape the future appearance of the world map. One of the crucial discoveries of these studies was that the mechanisms behind the formation of this rift are similar to the processes that occur on the floor of today's oceans. In the open sea, at the so-called mid-ocean ridge, the plates move apart and release magma, gradually creating new oceanic crust. Scientists believe that the same dynamic is occurring under Africa, but on dry land, creating this crack that, in the future, will allow the entry of ocean water, forming a true inland sea and, who knows, an independent ocean. This point is crucial. Confirmation of this similarity in the geological process shows that the African rift is only in its initial stage, but it can reach gigantic dimensions, just like the chains of underwater mountains. You may be wondering, but why is this happening right there, in East Africa? The answer involves a combination of factors: a history of intense volcanism in the region, weaknesses in the Earth's crust, and the triple boundary of tectonic plates colliding and pulling parts of the land in opposite directions. All of this creates a perfect scenario for the emergence of a great rift, something similar to what happened for the formation of the Rift Valley, which cuts through countries such as Kenya, Tanzania, and Ethiopia, famous for the diversity of human fossils that helped tell our own evolutionary story. The difference now is how much this continental fracture is expanding and could, in the future, be filled by water from the Indian Ocean, which would completely change the way of life and geography of these countries. It is impossible not to imagine the impact this will have on the local populations and on the political map of the continent. Nations that are currently landlocked could become potential port centers in the future, even in the distant future, of course. On the other hand, regions that are currently interconnected by land routes could be divided by immense bodies of water, changing the flow of products and natural resources. Think of the number of peoples who inhabit these regions, each with their own traditions and stories linked to the current terrestrial environment. This geological change also represents a challenge for engineering and the economy, which will have to adapt to the new geographical configuration. The big question that remains is, will we, as humanity, be prepared to deal with transformations that seem slow but are inevitable? It is also worth mentioning the enthusiasm of experts, such as PhD student Christopher Moore from the University of Leeds, who highlighted in an interview how rare it is to be able to observe such a process happening on dry land. Normally, these separations occur in submerged areas, far from human eyes, where the action of tectonic plates forms oceanic crust without attracting much attention. But in Ethiopia and its surroundings, this movement is wide open, providing a unique opportunity for study. As Moore said, this is the only place on Earth where you can study how a continental rift becomes an oceanic rift. So, in addition to all the geopolitical and social relevance, there is also immense scientific value in this natural laboratory, which can teach us a lot about the evolution of the planet itself and even help us predict, or at least better understand, seismic events in other parts of the world. And now it's your turn to join in the conversation. What do you think of this phenomenon that could, in millions of years, completely reshape the map of Africa and create a whole new ocean? Leave your comment below about this incredible subject. Do you think this could bring great benefits, or will there be huge challenges along the way? I would love to hear your opinion. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel to see more content like this, full of interesting facts and breathtaking scientific discoveries. After all, the world never ceases to amaze us, and together we can explore every detail of this ongoing adventure we call Earth. Thank you very much for joining us, and see you next time.